Kia ora, everyone. We've got Mr. Dave Perry, aka Flannalette Hunter, aka Venator Outdoors, aka Christine today. he's rocking Christine on his laptop, which is fair enough, mate. It's been near on a year since you and I caught up, and we went up that beautiful gulch that you'd spied the week before, and were successful. That was a great evening. What the fuck's been going on, mate? What happened last year? Something happened. I can't really put my finger on it. Big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, probably a lot's happened, eh? It's probably the first, or I've been pretty quiet as of recent months on social media, so I don't know. It's a bit of a step back from that, and then sort of focus on the finer things. Still hunting all the time. Probably not as such, not sharing it as much. I'm not letting the world see it all. Just kind of doing it on my own, right? Yeah, bro, new job, building the house, heaps of stuff, dude, heaps of stuff. But yeah, hunting a lot. Still smashing the southern Ruahenes.
Nice.
Both sides. It's the same place I went with you, and over the Ashurst side. So it's probably definitely too many deer around. That's for sure. Anyone's listening who's hunting in those areas, definitely get stuck into it because doing a fair bit of damage from what I've seen. But yeah, other than that, bro, it's been pretty stock standard life in the 30-year-old male, really.
Yeah, mate. So you're saying about the Ashurst side, you got the tongs to come over the track and meet up with you and Fitzy, and obviously there's a little bit of excitement of what came out of that trip. But just while we're talking on the deer, man, you spotted a few. It didn't look like it was too hard to find them, although you were in some curious places, man. What's with taking people through gorges, bro?
Yeah. Well, that area's sort of become, I know, every bloke says, "Oh, it's my spot." It's not my fucking spot, but, it's definitely a place. It's probably about an hour for me. It's probably about an hour and a half's drive from where I live, and then you kind of only access it by 4-wheel drive, so that sort of cuts down how many people can get in there. And it actually, there used to be, I'm trying not to give too much detail away, so there used to be a hut in there and it got washed away, so that sort of took away, a slip happened on the opposite side. And
we talked about this hut in the last episode, man. So this spot's blown.
That makes it easy. Yeah, on that place. So yeah, in there, bro. And it's just, sometimes it's just like anywhere, like hit and miss. I've been in there, sometimes been in there by myself, and there's like, sometimes you're bumping like a dozen deer one time when I was just running around everywhere. And then going there the next time, and there's nothing, no sign. We were just quite fortunate, obviously, with Rosie and Dan. We seen one. Sort of a scramble because we were obviously there for kind of another reason, as you well know. And I sort of spotted one down just above the river, and then me and Dan sort of were kind of watching it, and Rosie was scrambling sort of with the camera, and Fitzy was on the binos and he couldn't quite see it, and it got quite because we could only see them through a little hole in the canopy on the opposite side, and then I obviously first thing, you couldn't. It was about 300 meters, so I picked up the 303 and I couldn't see anything. So I was like, oh. And then I grabbed Dan's rifle to look through the scope, and then I was sort of lining it up for Fitzy or Dan to shoot it. And then Fitzy couldn't see it, and then Dan was sort of umming and ahhing, and I was just like, and we only had like a little window, so I ended up just like pretty much pulling the trigger. And it's actually the first time in a long time I've shot with a scope, bro. It can't. It's actually really good. Took one down, took a yearling, good size yearling, good meat, and that was pretty much straight away, like as soon as we walked in there. So we stayed the night on the tops, walked down, and had the meat straight away. And that night we shot down the river, cruised down the river, and we bumped into a hind and a yearling, good 160 meters, I think. Dan had a crack at the hind. We sort of had it set up so Fitzy was lining up on the yearling and Dan would hit the hind. And the mentality behind it was that if you drop the hind, the yearling won't know what's happened, so you sort of get your second shot off as part of that. Unlike, well, you can do that coordinated shooting stuff, but yeah, so we tried that. But I think Dan sort of not sure. Look, it sounded like a hit, like the thud was there. It sort of made the right reaction. Ran straight down the hill. I looked on the camera. It sort of looked it, but yeah, we couldn't end up finding it. Didn't see any blood or anything like that. So it was a bit unlucky with that, but still a pretty good. As far as overnight hunts go, it was a fucking good, yeah, bloody, really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So have to get you out there soon, bro. Sure.
Yeah, I have to come back down your way. Yeah, bloody Rohini's last weekend there was 3 deer, but the old stag, he was sort of in the river, and being pre-raw, I kind of was like, yeah, I better make sure of it. And in hindsight, he was young, but then also in hindsight, it would have been bloody tasty to have him in the freezer. So a little bit of disappointment with that fella. The hind, she never really offered a shot. There was only the up the bum one, and if you're going to shoot a hind, you want the meat. You don't want to just bloody get a tail like they did back in the day. And then the third deer, which I'm pretty sure was a stag, by the stank Messi had made in there. He was well and truly in his territory rather than mine. That was for sure. I was coming up a very steep face, and it started to open out a little bit, and heard the blackbird go off, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a deer here somewhere. And then same thing again, and just saw his ass and just pelting it up the hill through the trees. There was no chance. So it was good. It was good fun in there in the Awatiri, but no specific success, if that's what you call it. But it's funny you were saying about trying to get Fitzy to look at the deer. The 2 weeks before, when I took that guy out for his first deer hunt, and that's my first time taking someone along, thinking, I just blatantly said to him, just so we know, I'm not very good at this. So if that's the premise of you coming, like, keep your expectations low. But shit, we had one deer walk across the track 20 meters in front of us while we were yakking, and it disappeared as they do in the kawakas. And then the next one, we were walking along the track, and I just sort of upped the binos, and I was like, oh yeah, there's one, have a look at that. Gave him the same deal, gave him the binos, and he couldn't see it. And I put the scope up, saw it in the scope. I was like, oh yeah, it's there. And then we're on the middle of the track. There's no way to have a shot at that. But yeah, it's hard work when you see it, and then you're like, yeah, it's just there in that space. That looks like there should be a deer there.
Yeah, man. I think like I don't know. It was probably a lot of it down to, especially in that area. I'm in there just all the time, so it's like kind of like you get a point where it's like, okay, I know where they are. Like I know where they hang out, and you can sort of let guys, or whoever you're with, like whether it's Fitzy or Rosie or Dan, to say like, oh look, we're going to cruise into some native. I've hit the deer in here before in this area, and I've shot down this part of the river. There's all this is where Dan shot, had a crack at that deer, like with that hind. There'd be about every time prior, like three or four times prior to that, there's been deer on the exact same face. So it's just kind of like, it's just where they are. I think like, when you saw, I don't know what it was, man. It was taking me ages to get over it too. It was like taking, when you say, I'm not very good at this. So I think you find like you sort of give yourself a bit of credit, because like the most experienced hunter could go into an area and then not see anything, and then you could go in there a couple of hours later and then see fucking everything. So it's just hunting, Like some like skills differentiate with experience and stuff like that too. I wouldn't say that you're not very good at hunting, bro. So,
it's fun. It's funny though. Like it's pretty amazing. I guess it's like teaching someone to drive, or teaching somebody anything that you've been having to go at for a while. Like the things that you think that it just become automatic are like revolutionary to someone, and like, oh wow, I didn't notice that. You're like, oh yeah, I didn't used to notice that either. And I was just, before I was young, I was listening to Tim Ferriss talk about his nature walks, and he sort of started hiring like biology guides and stuff to take him around. And that's what he was sort of saying about, like, even in your backyard, like, what are all the trees in your backyard? And like most people wouldn't know them. I'm looking at the moment, I don't know them all. And so that can be your task, like learn a couple of trees and, learn those palatable species. And then you start to see tracks and trails, and hey, this all starts fitting together, but it's slow and accumulating. How long have you been going into that spot, man? Like you say, now you've sort of run into them a few times in a few different spots, and it's kind of like, well, I'll go here, I'll go there.
It's probably more times than I can count, really. Like it is definitely like, say I'm going in there again this weekend, and I was in there like, weekend before last, so it's kind of, and I'll probably be in there, Easter being next weekend, I might go in there again, sort of thing. It's I don't know, it's just, I think, like, because obviously I do, like, it's a bit, solo sort of stuff have become quite it is a real good escape on that side too. It's not always just like shooting the animals and stuff like that. It's actually just like, because there's been times I've walked in there and just sat there and just watched deer, like probably 20 feet away from me in the bush, just feeding, and I'll just, I've got a perfect shot open, but just haven't. Like, it's just been a good, especially when you've got like a hectic full-time job and they're just having that kind of release. So that place has sort of become quite special. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned that though, but like, I have bumped into other hunters in there. If we bumped into a hunter there on the weekend, and he's an old guy, and it's sort of his spot as well, because it's the second time it's quite funny. I was in there by myself, probably started this year, and then so you drive into the track and I seen 2 utes parked up, just at the start of the track. So I was like, oh, fuck, obviously someone's in here. So, and it was sort of coming on last light, and I sort of thought to myself, look, there's a place, because you start on the tops and you climb down the leatherwood, and then you sort of hit the native, and that's like prime, bush stalking. Like, it's just real nice native, real, easy kind of undergrowth. You can see like quite clearly. And I'd obviously shot a few deer like in that. So, but then I was sort of thought to myself, if I'm thinking that, then does the next bloke do that, and is he gonna shoot me, like, coming in? So, these sort of. So I'm just like, okay, well, what can I do? Like, thinking to myself, well, I sort of looked at my pack, and the only sort of high-vis kind of thing I had was the inside of my puffer jacket. And this isn't January, like, it's fucking hot. So I fucking put it on. And then I just start boosting down the track, like pack on, like rifle, like fuck it. Because I'm like, well, if I'm sprinting, they can't shoot me. So fuck it. So I'm just sprinting down the track. And then I end up bumping into this old bloke. And he's just like, I was actually quite relieved because I could take the fucking puffer jacket off. So put that off. And then had a yarn to him. And then he sort of had a fly camp, and he was there. But he was there with, it's quite funny. I didn't notice it, because I sort of chatted to him for a bit, and then I kept heading down to the track to where sort of where I was going to camp up, and then I came the other way, and then I don't know if you see that Matt Cleaver. He's the guy on NZ Hunter. He's been on NZ Hunter with his 2 sons.
Yep, yeah, I know you're talking about. Yep,
bumped into him like in the dark. So there's 2 boys. And, yeah, I just see he sort of came up, and he had his head torch on, because they'd shot a deer on this opposite face, and they were coming up because I could see their headlamps. And then he came up through, and then I was like, hey, fuck, I know you. So I had a good yarn with him and his boys. So yeah, he's a top bloke. So I've bumped in a few guys in there, but other than that, there's never really anyone in there. Talking on Calvin. Calvin's on the podcast. He shot a deer in there. So it's been pretty fruitful in there. But then the other times there's been nothing.
Yeah,
just the way it is. So, yeah.
How are those Cleaver boys off the camera, man? Did they chew your ear off, or?
Bro, nah, they were good, man. Like I mean, Matt's a weapon of a bloke. Like probably that is the other plus side to that place. Like, it's quite a steep. A lot of guys wouldn't go in because it's a sort of an easy walk in, but then if you shoot something, you got to get back up it. I think that might deter a few people. But he's a fit guy, quite humble. And his boys, I mean, they weren't really saying much. They were sort of carrying deer out, so they were pretty buggered by the time they got up to where I was. But no, I mean, I think that's definitely a good example of where, for example, if I was a father and I had 2 sons, that's exactly what I'd be doing. So no, he's a top bloke. Yeah. So it's quite cool. You bump into guys like in the bush, because you end up like, you're talking about the same thing, and you talk about the history of the place. Like the guy I first bumped into, the older bloke, he'd been hunting in there for 30 years, So he was telling me about all these secret tracks that lead to headwaters, and where these animals are, and it's sort of just like, because obviously I'd stick to my main routes, but then once he sort of let loose and gave me a few secrets and things like that, I was just like opened up a whole new area of hunting. And yeah, it's quite cool to bump into him again, because I didn't recognize him, but he recognized the gun. He's seen a 303, and then he said, "Oh mate, you're in the dark." yeah, so it's good to see him again. He's good, especially old guys like that out solo hunting is pretty epic. So.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. When I went into Kaimai's before New Year's, I ran into a fellow that said he'd grown up in the area, and he actually reckoned that a lot had changed in that bush, that had sort of come on a lot, sort of developed a lot more, and it was a lot tighter. And being around New Year's, there was people everywhere, so there wasn't much sign or deer about, or I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but probably. Talk to Justin. He reckons. What does he say, that the deer go hide on the weekends?
Yeah, bro. He's I don't know, but he's going to be able to listen to this too. So big smile on his face. But yeah, you can see he's got his spot up the back of Waikanae because he's like Tower Roar's hard. I always feel bad like saying I hunt the Royal Hennies because I do feel like betraying him a little bit to some degree. But he's got a spot at the back of where we live here, and he's been pretty successful out there, and that's just right in our backyard. So he definitely knows where they are. And it's be interesting too because we're off to Fiordland on 3 weeks for the fourth period. So excited for that. It'd be good to get back out. Yeah, man, too much to do with them, especially with a new job. So yeah, actually quite good to have another trip like Southwestern and get stuck into it again.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. What do he's doing what bloody Murphs every week. what do you running up his spot? What are you doing, man? You don't want to be left behind.
I still got my I still obviously hunting every weekend for pack training. Yeah, just like pack training, and that's all you could really. I don't know, man. I sort of found like a lot of it the last time was weird, but Southwestern was weird, like because we obviously had the lockdown, and then like this is last year. I didn't train for it, and then I didn't feel like once I was physically, there was a physical stress. I mean, the only time I felt physically buggered is when my boots were just fucking killing my feet. It was the only pain I felt the whole time. Like the rest of it was kind of, I don't know if it's because like your head's sort of because you're hunting or something like that. I don't know, but I didn't feel exhausted or buggered or like obviously I did, but not like physically incapable of doing it. That was with no training, so put a bit more effort into this time, of course. So it'd be a thing, but he's definitely full snot at it. He's hanging out in his boat probably at the moment.
Yeah.
So.
No, very good, mate. And you said how you've sort of been almost MIA from the Instagram. What's been your sort of tricks and tools to let it be, man?
I think like I do feel bad because I think if a lot of people were quite concerned, like they sort of saw that, like, what are you up to, mate? I get quite a lot of messages and stuff. But then I think after the whole tar thing, like the tar, and then how sort of the hunters kind of somewhat turned on each other. I think there was a lot of people. I'd find myself in arguments with for well-renowned hunters. And we were all sort of fighting the same fight. And I just don't know if like social media was really the right way to like portray. I don't think you could get your message across properly. I didn't. I found it anyway. And then I just got to a bit down on it, a bit over it, and then sort of probably a bit dependent on it. It's just on it all the time. And then obviously I think definitely changing got a new job. Definitely hated the last one, so I think like social media was definitely like my escape.
Yeah.
So once I got the new job and I was just stuck into that, it was like, sweet, I'll just worry about this. And then I sort of realized like how my attitude was changing. I was quite a lot more calm and a lot more into other things, and then just social media just sort of took a backward step. I've probably been a bit more active lately, due to obviously Fitzy and his operation going on. So. But now I'm quite like weary. I just don't get caught up in it. I don't get like, if you get a message or you get into an argument or you get hated on or something like that, it's just like, fuck it, it's just in one ear and out the other. Just shrug it off as opposed to reacting to it like last time and shit like that. So, I don't know. It's a cool tool. It's definitely. I've met a lot of mates. Obviously, I met Justin, met Dan, Rosie. I think it's definitely got its highlights, but I think when people get too invested in it, it can be very unhealthy mentally. So probably
Mate,
where I made the mistake. So.
You've obviously got some interesting followers, eh? Because like even the other day, you're out having a good time with Rosie and Dan, and showing a little bit of a sneak peek of the warfighter gear and stuff like that, and then straight away someone throws a jib at you, like, fucking hell, get along. I was just like, are these people serious? Like, fucking hell.
Right. Oh no, it's yeah. Oh,
They've been waiting. They were waiting for you, man.
Yeah. Fuck it.
Maybe that's a compliment. Hey, you're giving somebody a purpose.
It's definitely. Yeah. It's a weird world. But I think it's a lot better. Like look after it properly. Look after yourself. Don't get too invested in it. Right. Then you sort of see the people who are invest their lives in it, like influencers and that sort of shit. So I don't know. But, yeah, you I don't know. They're quite healthy actually, just staying off it. Things are going quite well in personal life, and probably physically feeling fucking pretty good. Training pretty hard. Mentally feeling probably even better. Just I was always quite a quiet sort of guy, I think, like a quiet demeanor up until probably the last 18 months, and then sort of, I don't know, maybe too much of a dopamine hit or something from Instagram just set me off a bit and charged me up. So I don't know, need a more kickback, I think. So.
Do you think you might have, like, obviously you said about the job that wasn't being very fulfilling. You made all those life changes and ended up back in Waikanae. Do you think it was, like you said, the dopamine hit? That was, you put everything else to the side, and that was the small thing that when you don't pay attention to it, you think it's harmless, but really, like you said, it was this distraction, this outlet, this thing that was kind of creating a little bit of an addiction and filling a space. There's work, as you talked about last time, there's worse things to be sort of caught up in. But do you think that maybe 1 year on of being in a place that's homely and being around family and friends and relationships, that now you're there's more space between that period of your life that was pretty tough?
Yeah, man. I'd say back then, I think I look at my life now, back then, and I was like, holy shit, like things have actually done to sort of come running out of that black hole, like, to where I'm at now with in terms of work and family and sort of, life's sort of gained a bit more momentum, and the hunting's been, just been learning more and more and getting out and about more, and just throwing a lot more challenges at me and myself. Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Like, it was just I think that's what I feel. I think that probably goes on the thing like with like Manitou and stuff. I think that was a real. I wasn't. It was like from before then. I was never really into social media, and then I got into it like hard with that, and then that was probably like some sort of a mental addiction. That was probably like, you get all these, these messages and these DMs, and you feel like you're actually, your life has a purpose again, when it's not right. Reality. Like, I was still at the time, like I was still drinking a lot, like quite drinking by myself, and still trying to hide from reality a lot, because I think I enjoyed the world of social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I was still hunting. Like, it wasn't like I was preaching something that I'm not. I think it was just more. Yeah, it was kind of. I don't think I really liked the reality then, and I wasn't really. Some of the stuff I was saying in terms of mental health, I don't think I was really looking after myself. I don't actually believe what I was saying. I wasn't practicing what I was preaching in terms of that. Like, I was still, drinking pretty heavily, like by myself. Like, and this is probably to like an abysmal kind of rate. Like, you're talking like sitting down out on the deck having like 12 beers. Yeah, sort of thing. So, that all changed. Obviously, canned the beers, and it's hard to explain how much it's all changed in a positive way to now, like properly, not as opposed to. But I think in the last podcast, I don't know. I think if I listened to that last podcast, I'd be like, oh fuck, really that, some of the stuff I was saying, I was it really like that, bro?
I think like like you were saying to me about giving yourself a bit of credit, like you said it there just before, you kind of ran out of that black hole of your life, but things do take time to sort of come around. Like I said, open this up that, it's been a year since we went on that hunt, and for me that weekend was just, I can't even put it into words. It was a complete blur. I don't know what sort of person I was like being there with you that weekend, because there was that much stuff going on in my head, having 2 weeks separated from Alex and been away from Billy, and having been at my mate's wedding, all those sorts of things. And then we just had this still perfect evening, interacted with Deer, and managed to bag some meat for the freezer. And then the next week it was into lockdown. So it was just like, wow, that was a year ago. So for the same thing for you, it had been sort of 4 months since we did that first podcast, and when we went hunting at New Year's, you were sort of saying to me about how it's still a bit of a roller coaster, and then went through lockdown, and then the tar stuff, and you and that was straight after you and Justin had just been and had something that you'll never ever forget, and then to have that thing sort of threatened to, like, oh yeah, that's potentially the only time you're going to get to do that, man. Like, well, what? That was so significant, and now you can tell me that, thankfully that hasn't come to fruition. But that was, if you got caught up in the media circus or the arguments from the different sides, you could easily get pretty doomsday about the whole thing. And yeah, like to go from the place you're in to then, just a few months later and have the odd slip up, I think it's pretty understandable. And like you say, now further on, a little bit more space in it, you've made so many positive steps that just mean that the life's completely different. Like, don't you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon, bro. I reckon for sure, man. I think a lot of it too is I get real, especially with I suppose the tar thing's a good example, because you did right, bro. Like, you go on this incredible trip, and you just because I felt like that, when you like tar are just, not only are they like fucking majestic, right? Like, there's most like gorgeous, magnificent animal like things you can see, and they're always like, for some reason, bro, they're always like poking out on a rock like the fucking Lion King or something. They're always just like some magnificent sort of setting, bro. And then that hunt, man, we fought, like, we 3 days walking, we and that was not even like half of it. That was like, we had to navigate areas that we like through like massive rock gardens, and this is like full packs, like pulling ourselves up over rocks. Like, it was a physical, like, and then that wasn't even like starting to go up into the Alps. That was like fucking just 2 days walking up a river and shit. That was just like, it was a war. Like, and then to have that experience with Justin to shoot the tar, and then and as you say, then carry it out, and then it's the full. I think the head mount's ready soon, so that'll be on the wall, and I think I'm even I don't know, one point I might even weld the barrel up on the 303 or something like that, and I'm too old, and hang it up there underneath it. But yeah, it's just that, like, that having that taken away, like, and that was, but that thing that was like resonated with so many different hunters. But I just think what I don't agree with was, like, obviously I don't agree with like Labour, obviously he's, the minister at the time, but with the Greens and Sage. I just, as how the hunters, the community, like, and people say we were like, all this going on at social media, we were banded together and all this and all that. Like, people were at each other's throats, mate. Like, you see, for some, like, they would blame the Tar Foundation as like, fucking this and that. And then, like, it was like, how, I think for a lot of people, I remember Calvin, like, getting just absolutely abused. Like, all he was trying to do was tell and it fired me up, bro. And it fired Justin and Fitzy up, because I think Calvin shared it.
I had an argument with him too, and I saw him poke up again the other day. That fella, like, I was just like, "Hey, you're still angry, mate." Like, far out.
I wasn't I messaged him, bro, and I was like, "Oh, mate, we'll do this, eh? We'll do a charity boxing match, and then whoever you donate $5,000 to the fucking TAR Foundation." Yeah, I think that one, just people like that, man. He was just one example of many people that were, and it was all of his like frustration, and a lot of the time, especially for like the hunting guides and it's their livelihood, so it's understandable. So I think, yeah, to do with that was definitely like, especially like because before that there was a lot of hunters that I was talking to, and they become, we were on a pretty good. We'd talk hunting, and then it kind of turned like, oh, bro, you shouldn't be saying this, or you don't know this, and then I'd find myself firing back, and I'd be like, fuck up, bro, you don't fuck it, and just like, and it's just it got out of hand, and then I just turned into something I probably wasn't, and then pulled the pin for a bit. Yeah, just focused on hunting as opposed to just talking about hunting or taking photos of being out hunting and actually just hunting.
Yeah,
it's more the result of that sense. So.
Yeah, going into the period of it. And where did fishing come in? Had you done much fishing before?
Bro, I fucking suck at fishing. I don't actually like, bro. I don't say, I've like my casting. It's just it's looking pretty good now. My I don't know, but I think it's just like I definitely need to go because I don't know. The fly fishing, bro, was pretty much from what I wanted to do over Christmas. I had a mission to go, and I was supposed to take Fitzy. And I ended up having work drinks for Christmas, and then I ended up goanna wrestling with my boss. It's like it ended up like fucking my knee up. So
what's goanna wrestling? Is that the thing with the belt?
That is with the belt, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
heads in.
Goanna wrestling. Yeah. Heads in, you pull back with a belt, and ended up like having something in my knee, and then I couldn't go. But the plan was to like to go back up to Kāweka J, over the tops, down the back ridge, all the way to Rocks Head Hut, because I knew I'd flown into Rocks Head with heli seeker about a couple of years ago, and I knew there was just trout everywhere. So I was like, sweet, if I can't, I'll hunt morning and day since it's long days. As you know, I was like, I'll fly fish during the day. That was the plan. But in saying that, like I still went up to the Mohaka, did a bit of fly fishing up there, no avail. But it's still, I think I just need to learn the technical sorts of things. But probably go on with a guide.
Yeah.
Actually, just like learning I can tie the knots, can cast, all that sort of thing. But when it comes to what lures and what nymphs and flies and stuff to use, it's kind of probably just need a lesson and that. But it's something I'll keep at. And it's quite good around here too, because you do have some rivers pretty close by. You can shoot up and have a crack as opposed to driving up a couple of hours to go hunting. But I'll definitely be doing both of them. Try and link them together at some stage, fly fishing and hunting.
Especially like when you talk about the summer, like their New Year's, climb a mountain and then sleep all day, and then climb back down,
that's it,
just to get squealed at the bottom. Golly, that was frustrating.
Yeah, man. I've still got unfinished business with like the Kāwekas, Like I've definitely sort of had a pretty good luxury over the last year, and then it's probably like some of that to social media has been able to hunt in a fair few different places. Like I went up to Longview, hunted Enfield, Kāweka J, been out with you, some of the western side of the Ruahinis and all that sort of thing. Obviously down south, so it's been good. But yeah, the Kāwekas, bro, is definitely, and Seeker is something it's unfinished business. Just for that, like how sneaky and cheeky and the country out there, So that trip over Christmas, New Year's, was my payback or revenge for the Kāwekas to go back and go to Seeker. But obviously, karma got the better of me or something. So, but I'll definitely go back at some stage for sure.
Yeah, bro. Well, I've got a little bit more familiar with the area slightly, but like saying, I can start to generally know where they are ish, but I haven't been successful yet. So,
crazy the different native bush, bro. Like the difference between like the Ruahinis and Kāweka, because like Kāwekas, you just have that thick undergrowth, and it's sort of like, I don't know, like I think if I had a preference of what I'd think I'd be better at hunting, it would definitely be red deer, obviously, which is a bit behavior-wise and so. But seeker, I always thought like going off our last hunt, next time I'm just going to climb a tree and just fucking wait, and just so you can see down on top of them, because fuck, it's just like, I remember walking down that track and then walking back on last light back to the hut, and I was just bumping them off the track, like they're squirreling everywhere and running off. I was like, I bet if I just wait, sure, if they come up behind me, I just need like a good vantage point and just take a shot in there. But yeah, it's,
well, 2 weeks ago we had planned to stay at the McKenna Biv, and there was holes in it. So we were walking up to the McKenna hut, and again, just like we're at that last trap, and I sort of said, to the dude, there's often deer around the hut, and sure enough, like we'd just gone past the last trap, so we're within one trap of the hut, and beep, runs around us, cuts our wind. It's pitch black, so you can't see it. But it's like, those cheeky buggers.
Yeah, actually, I think I've got to catch up with Rosie, because they're the same. I think that's a good thing I thought, about having a local, having your local area. Because I mean, Rosie and Dan, they have their spot up there too. They do quite well. Rosie's a wealth of knowledge in terms of seeker. She's actually she's got a lot of knowledge on it about like deer and even a lot of shit, especially about reds, that I didn't know. So.
What was hunting camp like with you guys? Like, Fitzy would be keen as anything. Dan's done some stuff and picked up a lot of knowledge, and then old Rosie's a silent assassin.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was. I think it was. It was cool, man. Obviously, Rosie was she didn't take a rifle. She was sort of behind the camera. I think it was. Dan was pretty. He's just another bloke. Like their relationship, they're pretty. It's cool. Them together is actually. I think, to be fair, is probably the definition of really like. And they won't admit it. Like they wouldn't say it, but I think like when what me and Fitzy could see, and we both agreed, like they definitely put two people that bring the best out in each other. I think so. It's actually really cool to see a relationship like that, especially when you're out hunting. And so that's really cool with them. So it was awesome to get out with them finally. It's been a long time coming. And yeah, Fitzy's just like for Fitzy, man. Like he is, as you probably know, he's one of the fucking hardest working guys, most dedicated blokes to what he, to his brand and his family and that. So I think sometimes he works himself into a bit of not a bad headspace, but maybe a bit of stress. There's a lot, he sort of had a lot on the line with what he's doing. So he's always really keen to come out and, he'll come out with me. He'll be hitting me up. So he'll be out with me next weekend, sort of thing. He just loves it now. So it's quite cool because he's just really coming into. He's learning a lot about hunting as well. He's obviously hunting people to hunting. So he's enjoying it, and it's cool to see coming out with a mate. And so it's quite cool to see him like sort of learning a few things off me or something, like as if I'm passing some knowledge onto him, and he's picking it up. And he sort of knows where these animals are too now. Like he knows what to look, like where to be, picking up on the wind and all that kind of stuff. So he's quite patient. So yeah, it's quite cool going with Fitzy. He's good hunting buddy. Good yarn too. Good fucking dedicated. You'll hear him talking about warfire from fucking all night long.
and of course he's resurrected your modelling career as well. So that's got to be a good mate, eh? Like just chucks you in front of the camera.
I was supposed to. So he's got two ranges at the moment. One, obviously, there's the athletic range, which I was supposed to have like enough. I was pretty much in my head. I thought I was just testing the gear, like just testing the outdoor stuff. I was like, I didn't fucking photos or anything. Like I sort of just put that whole thing aside, and then what does he do? He fucking rings me up. He's just like, I think I wouldn't have seen him at the gym or something. He was chatting to me about, but I got this photo shoot idea. So I was like, for a few ideas of him, and I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah. Ended up like doing a photo shoot for him and like some of his athletic gear and doing some stuff, and that sort of like kicked it off again. But at the end of the day, like he is a fucking a really good mate of mine, and he's, especially through some tough times in my life, he's put warfighter down the side and come give me a hand. So I sort of owe it to him to help us, in any way I can, if they're as minimal as they might be, to sort of help his brand keep growing. So yeah, it's exciting times for him. He's done really well, and I'm excited to see how sort of life, what his vision will turn into, because it definitely will. I've got every bit of faith in him. So
yeah, looks bloody nice stuff. And again, about what was that, 10 or so months ago, 9 months ago, when I saw him and he's showing me the fabrics and all the ideas that he had in his head, to see it roll out in that short amount of time, like far out, it looks so nice. And bro, you're if someone's pre-ordering, there's a chance to maybe take them to the secret little spot. Is that, or are you going to take them somewhere else?
I think I'll go somewhere else. Like, there's some spots that I know of that are probably a little bit more. I think you probably want to, if you're going to take someone on a hunt like that, you sort of want to, especially if they're not really hunters or something like that, just a little bit more scenery. So maybe you might head up to the Hawke's Bay or something and come up your ways, bro, and hit it from the real hinge from the north, maybe. But yeah, man, like the gear, bro, I don't know what to say. I just like, why? Because I've got like 10 pairs of pants, and they're all like the prototypes of the first, from like prototype 1 to the end product. And I even say like prototype 1, I had my bloody, you have your doubts, and you're like, oh, I know what's this going to be like, sort of thing. Man, other than a few very minor things, like say some of the logo would come off, like that was just because it was a prototype. It was it. I would definitely put them up with my mountain pants from Sitka. Like, probably, I don't even know where my mountain pants are. Like, I probably find they're fucking expensive, but like, like the Warfighter pants, man. Like, literally, it'd be interesting to see, because I know you rock. Are you still rocking those First Light?
Yeah,
those First Light
ones? They're starting to get a bit punished, which is a bit of a bugger. Like, speaking of bloody expensive, I'm like, oh shit. And then I'm like, then I have counted up how many times I've been hunting. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I've been hunting heaps. that's why my pants started to look a bit worse for me. But yeah, so yeah, I'm straight away started to eye up these, and I can almost justify it.
Yeah, man, like I have to say, dude, like it's got, and what he's actually done, like the manufacturers and stuff, he's got them out, like he's got these bits of clothing out of places there, like I won't say the brand in case I get it wrong, but there's some massive brands out there that use these manufacturers and stuff. He's got like the Rico tabs on the jackets. And,
what's that about, the Rico tab? How does that help people search you?
It's from my understanding, but I don't even know if Rico's rolled out in New Zealand yet. I think it's like an Alaska kind of thing, because you have them on the back of Tatonka packs, like the red tabs.
Yeah.
All the Tatonka packs have them. So they're like, I think they're like, search for like search and rescue.
Mm.
I'm not quite sure the system on how they work, but it's sort of like I don't know. I think it would give off some sort of signal, I'm guessing, to whoever's, like, maybe if you're in an avalanche or something like that. So.
Oh well, I'll be able to get it from the horse's mouth. Hopefully, if he gets a bloody free chance, we're going to have a chat. But
yeah, he'll do it definitely, man. He'll be busy at the moment, bro. But it'll start, like, once he starts punishing it past the pre-order, he'll be sort of more than enough time to catch up with you. Yeah, it's incredible to see, bro, what it's become. And it's cool to see when you go into work. I was like, fuck, because it was going back to like taking photos and stuff on Instagram. Fuck, I've got a new job, and last thing I want is my fucking boss putting up a photo of me wearing a fucking modeling photo or something like that. Like, so a lot of my mates, a lot of the guys at work, like, asking about it, like, what's the sort of, they're not necessarily hunters, but they're just quite interested in it, like, what sort of pants like. So it's definitely having an effect on the market as such, especially with what we've got in New Zealand. So. Exciting times, man, for sure, for Warfighter, if Flannalette can what he's up to. So I'm grateful to be proud of it, or be part of it. Behind the lens, or in front of the lens, or whatever it is. So.
Creating the setting for some great footage as well. That content creator. You could write that on your CV, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's stuck in something. I'm still like, I don't know. I want to do the guiding, Like I don't know how I want to do it. I really want to be like a hunting guide. So I don't know, the free range stuff. Obviously the free range sort of thing, but just looking at ways to. I still like look at ways of trying to do it, trying to fit it into my, to my life now. I don't know, part-time guiding. I don't know how much. It wouldn't even really be a money sort of thing. It'd just be I do like when I went out with you, bro. Like it's sort of when I went out with the same Dan and Rosie. You see a deer and you sort of have that experience. And I say, as you said, if someone's having a rough time and you kind of put some effort in, and still that awesome kind of environment that we went. When we went, and, as you say, things going on in your life to sort of have that sort of distraction. It's quite good. It's good. It's a cool feeling, especially when if you can when you kind of contribute to that somehow.
Mm.
So I'm still the guiding side is definitely. I'm just going to figure out how to do it. So.
Yeah. Do you stay in touch much with Andy? Like I see the other prizes going over to have edge hunting.
I haven't, bro. To be totally fair, man, I probably need to reply to no, I've other than my quite close mates, I don't really keep too much touch with anyone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do actually. I feel bad because most of the time it's people just asking up to him good intentions. So, but yeah, he's part of it, bro. Because I think that it was actually Fitzy sort of saved my ass there too, actually, because I just started this job and I think I was supposed to go with Andy and do like a hunting package for him.
Yeah.
I couldn't go like last minute because I started a new job and I think I had to work the weekend. And then I rang up Fitzy the night before. And Fitzy being pretty busy, so I think, oh fuck, bro. I was like, bro, would you be able to go up to Wanganui and go hunting for me because I can't go? And he jumped to it, and that built that relationship with, and it worked out really well for Fitzy. Man. Actually, it's probably way better off that he went because he linked up with like Tim Caverman, with the web design and he would kill sort of thing going on. So he sort of had inroads to sort of Hunter's Journal. So it's a good connection for someone like Fitzy, and obviously with Kitch helping him out with with this package too. That'll boost a lot of following, especially in the hunting arena. So it's definitely I don't know. I'm glad would have been a lot more beneficial for him than fucking me going. So
yeah, Kitch was messaging me and I was the same. I was like you said, it was sort of midweek, and I was like, oh mate, I'm going to you where you are, and you're going down to Wanganui, and yeah, like it would have been awesome to actually be along there with like you say, Tim was on that, and he got his first fellow, and he wrote about it in their Hunter's Journal, and it was like, again for him, it was a pretty special moment. Like you spoke about before, that's one of the awesome things about guiding is being part of those special moments. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the Alderman OE boys. Hopefully they'll be able to get back into business and back doing their thing. But far out, the old guiding thing for a little while was a bit messed up. I was hoping to have a yarn to Joe, not Edlington, Joe Flaherty, but he sort of said, I'd rather talk about it in hindsight because we don't really know what's going to happen, and we don't want to predict, what might happen. Which, so, geez, you got to feel for the guys, eh?
Yeah, bro. And like it's just because old Joe Edlington, man. He's he's another guy I need to speak to too because I usually speak to him all the time. But he's God, like, bro, there's YouTube stuff. It's like, oh man. Can't keep my eyes off it. I watched the same thing like twice.
You've been watching the fishing, the no barb fishing.
Yeah, Kingies. That's crazy, bro. But he's on top of them, like you feel for guys like they're good buggers as well. Like they're actually like real genuine dudes, and obviously the guiding stuff's pretty hard. But yeah, I mean, funny you should say that, bro, because when they rigged up that Scottish, when you go to Scotland.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I jumped on that. I was like, oh man, awesome, dude. Like, yeah, that sounds neat. And then, obviously that fell through. So I suppose like hunting guide around the world is sort of wherever you are, be pretty pretty tough at the moment. So hopefully, for the sake of those boys, it gets better. I think I'm just doing more part-time guy. Like, yeah, I don't know, just go up in the Ruahinis with
Weekend warrior.
Old mate down the road. Yeah, that's it, bro. That's it. So, I don't know if I'm as hard out as those boys, but yeah, hopefully it all works out for them, mate, for sure.
Yeah, like there's some really exciting outfitters around the country that are doing awesome things, and man, I just want them to see them do well. And but when there's no tourists, you're like, far out. It's not fair.
Yeah, it's like when you could see like with the tar coal and stuff, you could see it was like, because Justin went down just after COVID, down to the West Coast, and it was real empty, like Fox Glacier, just Franz Joseph was just empty, like just ghost towns. Only people there were like the tar colours and the farmer and the locals and that. So like the only people putting money into the West Coast economy at that time was the tar hunters, because they were down for the ballot. And so you could see like, the whole tar cull from so many angles was like, well, I suppose like from a conservation wise, and actually, when you've been down there was way too many tar. Like there was they were just running around and pretty willy-nilly and not really contained too well. So I think probably hunters might have failed. Well, I don't know, because in saying that, like a lot of places in that area I found you couldn't really get to, for obvious reasons. But like your ground hunting, you're very limited to what you can get to. So you're limited to what you can shoot. And then some of the helicopter stuff, like you can't land, obviously the wilderness zones and stuff like that. So it was quite hard for hunters to, especially ground hunting, to contain any sort of task, obviously without bombing nannies. So I don't know, maybe there's a double-edged sword there where hunters kind of failed to leading up on their taco. But we actually bumped into going back to the guiding, like we bumped into a guy in Castle Flats Hut before we went in on the first night. We walked in for about 6 hours and we bumped into him, and he was a guide. And I don't know, I think if I could pick my life, like, I think it'd definitely be him. He had this Singaporean missus who lived in Singapore. She was just like this rich, I don't know, I think she was the money maker, and he was just running around the West Coast, like, chatting to him about the guiding stuff and all that. He was really like, it can be sort of two things. Like if you're always watching people hunt, and it gets to a point where, because I explained in my view, like I've said that I enjoy the satisfaction of seeing someone being there when they shoot an animal, or they're just out there or something like that. Where he sort of said that that can wear off after a while, and then you sort of like become the opposite, with like frustration, where you see another hunter like maybe not respecting an animal as much as they should, or sort of treating it like just not treating it with sort of the respect it deserves. So I don't know, but the outfitters and guides and stuff must have been pretty, I don't know, pretty hard to
Hard time, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny listening to you try and talk about your experience on the West Coast and try to take a 10,000 foot view of tar and conservation. That sort of leads back into what you were saying at the start about how it just became too difficult to communicate your thoughts about the tar coal through social media because it was too snippety. You got 14 seconds to say something, or you've got a post that people read halfway through and give up on, and so they assume that you mean something, but you go, no, read a bit further down in the 300-page essay I wrote about this, or the three-hour conversation I've had today. And then you'll get that we're actually on the same page, mate. And that was the problem, wasn't it? There was no way of communicating it, and the news was giving you a quick snippet and flash. Here's some pictures of tar, and here's some people that are upset about it, and that's the news. Back to COVID.
It's just, I think, and you've always find yourself second guessing it too. Like I did. Like I'd post something, and I'm like, oh fuck. You reread it, and you're like, oh, did I say that wrong? And then like, did I word it wrong, or did I fucking? And then you just like looking back on it, like, it was not social media. Was just like probably not the best outlet for me personally to be talking about things like tar culls and that sort of shit. So yeah, it's But in saying that, bro, it sounds like there's still obviously they bombed a few over, so but there's still plenty down there, which is good. So, enough for when you decide to I'm rocking down in June. Something like that.
Yeah, God, I'm
chasing balls.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go visit a new niece at the end of August or start of August or something. But yeah, I might see if I can just sort of make that a 2-week ordeal and offload the family and then go into up the Rakaira or something. see if I can't find one. Hopefully someone like Francisco's still down there. I think he will have worked the place out by August.
Yeah, I think he is. Why? I don't know if he's down there because I think Justin was saying something about going out with him.
Yeah,
down in June. So yeah, I'm sure he seems like quite a cool bloke. Like pretty funny. Like,
he's champ.
Some of the stuff with like Caden Willis and that. So.
Yeah, he's making all the friends. Caden, Paddy, is it Brad? Which is what he's just like adventure dad, outdoor adventure dad or something like that. Yeah, he's doing good. It's meeting the locals.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, because I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, hopefully be interesting to the new conservation minister. She's pretty savvy. She seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
Justin said something with Tara Wild Foundation, and she seems quite positive and quite all about it and very reasonable. So you see if they see with her if she comes up with this one.
Yeah, hopefully it seems very much like they've gone for the funding boots on the ground type aspect, but you'll obviously see where the true colours, not necessarily for her, but from the party and the conservation portfolio, where that comes with this deer management plan. So it's been all positive from Seeker, Wapiti, Game Animal Council, Deerstalkers. So hopefully that's being heard at the table and that's what we get. But
yeah, man. There is light.
As people will tell you throughout the country, don't hold your breath when it comes to Department of Conservation.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, bro. But one thing is true though, dude. It does seem like there's way too many deer, especially where I go. Like you just see you can actually see the probably the damage in the undergrowth that is happening, and they sort of are clearing that place out. So always encouraging guys to. I always say like. People talk about spots, but I do tell people to go in there. I think it was quite a rewarding feeling too, bro, that you mentioned. I caught up with. I got a message after my last podcast with you. About a year ago, I got a message from bloke I went to school, and there's an avid listener of your Stag Raw, and he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, bro, he lives in Wellington. Hey bro, can I go to the Taurus? Do you have any spots at Taurus to go just for a day mission kind of thing?" And I think at the time he sort of wanted to go, they were contemplating bombing of 1080. I think it might have been, and I don't think they did in the end. But I told him that. I said, no, that area is getting bombed with 1080 like next week. But if you go to this area, which was the area I went with you, I said, well, I've been in there. There's always been deer in there. Yeah, so he ended up going up there, walking up that same creek bed, and then I was with Fitzy, and we were up the Ashurst side. We were on the opposite side of where he was, where we were. And then got up the top, got reception, and then he shot a couple of deer. So it was it was cool. It's quite good to put guys onto animals and all that sort of thing. So it's another rewarding aspect of social media is linking yourselves up with long lost mates. It was another rewarding feeling alongside actually being there with mates to shoot animals. So it's good to pass the old spots around. And in the day, no one's a public landowner, so
we all are. We're all public landowners.
Yeah, well, it's it.
Yeah. So, mate, you got Fiordland in a couple of weeks. That's going to be massive. have you set your horizons much further than that, or that's sort of
I will, bro. I think I'll probably go back to the West Coast. I'll probably I'll try and get a sham this time. Yeah, there's still like the main missions around the. I still got another hunt with Fitzy for Warfighter. Take someone up, looking probably northern Ruahinis, get up on the ranges for 5 days up there. A big route, probably a similar route to what Willie and Greg did on that second episode. We'll do something like that. I know I've been up that area before, and it's pretty fruitful. But you sort of go in there in the winter, you run the risk of the weather windows. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, Fieldland's the main one at the moment, though. That'll be a once lifetime experience as well. I've taken the old log of waters, so the inch with that will be pretty special. But we'll see how we go. I think just the experience itself will be pretty good in Fieldland.
Yeah, and it didn't rust up too bad after its swim.
Right, it didn't. It's a weapon, eh? Like, I feel it's just it's funny when I shot with Dan's rifle with the scope, and I was like, holy shit, like this is just like a feather. Like this thing is just so like, well, mine is just heavy. There's still like a lot of sentimental. I think the mentality with that was changed. I think at the time when I first started using it was like, I'll just try a new challenge, and sort of the more I got to know the rifle and it's kind of where it came from and what it was all about, it was sort of changed to more of like maybe kind of hanging on to a memory a little bit. Because guys would ask me about like, where did the rifle come from? And, what's that? It's just like, it served in the Japanese theatre war, the Second World War. That's what the serial numbers traced to. And then you can, then you find out. And it sort of did interest me for a lot because I, chase up the units that it was in with. So you can actually sort of explain, especially in the day and age now, where people don't know, the full story about things like Anzac Day and what it kind of means. You kind of use the rifle to tell a bit more of a story and a bit of a sentimental thing to remembrance, and sort of brings that idea back into the head. No, but it's a hell of a rifle. I got a bit of stick for putting it underwater. Last time I went for a bit of a swim with a deer on my back, and we're walking down. Well, we'd shot that one, and I was walking back down the river, and then obviously Rosie, Dan, and Fitzy could kind of manoeuvre themselves a bit better. And one thing I probably like, bush bashing with a deer on your back's never very fun. So I was like, I'll just sort of clamber down the river, and it's kind of already wet, and then sort of got to this point where it was kind of impassable and quite deep. So I didn't realise how deep it was. And then I got in there, and then, oh shit, it's over my head. the cavity of the deer's filling up too with water, so it's kind of like it's kind of a struggle to, you got to get out of the pool pretty quick. But I had the rifle, and once the deer was kind of pulling me under, I kind of couldn't get the rifle above the water, so I ended up just like sort of swimming with it. And then I think Rosie and Fitzy and had videoed it, and posted it on the Warfighter page. So it's like 70,000 followers or something. So fuck, people were just giving me a bit of stick for that. But I always say to them, like, mate, this thing survived the muds of the Kokoda Trail, and just the sands of El Alamein, and I'm sure it'll be right with a little bit of fresh New Zealand water for it, get oil and look after it. Right. So it's a good old thing, and I'll definitely keep shooting it until. I don't know. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Probably for the foreseeable future anyway. Keep using it.
That's bloody cool. It's awesome to talk about the history of it. I had this patient the other day drop off a book for me. It's called like Dust Off for Willie Peters. And the amount of people that have seen me reading it and messaged me being like, that book is freaking insane. Old Paul Michaels said, he's like, that's my favourite hunting book I've ever read. And yeah, I'm reading through it, and the dude's dad was in the First World War, and then so they talk a little bit about that, and then they're talking about the Second World War and what was going on with the high country stations and stuff, and all the deer numbers coming up after that Second World War, and then now it's just about to start talking about Korea, and then obviously the main thing with Dust Off is to do with Vietnam. So yeah, I think I'm up to about chapter 5 now. and it's frigging cool, and just gives you a little bit of context, and living in this area and sort of seeing all those familiar names, moreover over your side up towards the Central Plateau and Taiapi and stuff like that. But yes, it's pretty cool, and it gives you a better understanding of the places that you visit. Something that I talked about with Sam Gibson was sort of areas, if you can know the kaupapa of something, it just becomes more meaningful. And it's pretty cool. And that's the same with what you were just talking about there with your rifle. It's like it's got kaupapa, it's got a spirit to it. Yeah.
It is, and it's the saddest. Like you sort of, especially when you're fighting up through the west coast, fighting up these hills, you're fucking logging this thing around, and it's like you see sort of Justin's one, and it's kind of a fucking, he's got like a 210. How sort of light it is, and kind of, and then you sort of, these things are like, fuck. And the moment that you're like, what the fuck am I claiming this fucking hill? Like, you finish it all up, and then it's there with you, and you've carried it. Like it's a heavy beast. Like it's fully wooded, fully 10-round magazine. It's not a light little get, especially when you're carrying it for bloody. Carrying it in one hand because the sling's like shit. Because then the magazine's like fucking digging into your back, so you can't sling it across your body. Really, you have to sling it over your shoulder. So you're trying to do that, and then cut away with an ice axe. With the other hand, it's sort of quite awkward, but you're coming away with it at the end, and you're saying like, it wasn't just the sort of mentality changes what you've achieved kind of carrying that rifle. And it isn't like a marker. Yeah, I do believe in the respect of it. Like people say, you put it underwater and shit like that. I was definitely like, as soon as I was home, it was like oil clean, just broken down and all that sort of thing. So it is my absolute, it's probably my greatest asset, I think, that rifle. And probably the journey that, it's probably going a bit more spiritual with it, the journey that me and that rifle have had, everything I've spoken about with the times of feeling a bit down and, and I've had to go out in the real handies by myself. That rifle's come with me. It's put deer down. It's put some long range shots down, and it's up at Longview. I mean, there was a 200 meter shot and fucking gale force winds on a hind, and a lot of the bush. It's just the best in terms of bush. Bush hunting, bush stalking. It's the best rifle you can have. You can align to your target so quickly. It's got some punching power, the ammunition. It's getting relatively accurate now, out to like 300. So the rifle it's become like, it's felt weird. Like it did feel like I like you fucking cheating on your missus or something when I shot Dan's rifle. It was sort of like, it was sort of lying there. So I was like, fuck. I did feel quite bad, but it was. It's just become such a special piece of my life. I think it's not to me. It's not just a rifle. Like it's all times when it's as I said, times are tough and things like that. It's kind of been there. It's definitely helped me become a lot mentally stronger, lugging that thing around, and probably more disciplined in terms of using it. I think if anyone ever stole it, I'd be probably pretty gutted. So
yeah, brilliant, mate. Well, you're starting to fade away into the darkness there, bro. So, well, you got to the light on. But yeah, we'll wrap it up. But mate, what's what would you say the significance of sort of getting back to things again? Having your face out there again, and what's your mindset now, and how do you sort of see life these days?
I don't think it's probably something Ann Middleton says, that don't let anyone justify who you are.
Yeah.
So just pretty much what I'd say is work on the finer things, work on the things that really matter, and then you'll find you realise all the shit that didn't really matter.
Nice.
Happier.
I think I wrote that the other day. It was like concentrating on the things that matter makes you realise the things that don't. Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah,
No, it's for sure, man. Just worry about what fucking you're up to. Don't worry about everyone other fuckers up to. So just do your own thing, I suppose. You could come right in the end.
sweet brother. This has been good to have a catch up, and even though it's digital, it's been bloody awesome, mate. And yeah, I'll have to come over to your side of the Rohinis, and we'll go for a wander. Come check out this spot.
Anytime, man. You come anytime, bro. More than happy, eh?
Sweet. I'll press stop.